I've had some of my doctor friends that I've interviewed say, hey, come to this conference and just as a layperson observe. And so I'm observing, and I see these breakout sessions paid for by pharmaceutical companies to push the new drug. I'm not seeing anything on digestion. I'm not seeing anything on the impact of toxins on your body. I'm not seeing the things that I think could make a real difference in people and patients' lives. I just see more pills, potions, and surgeries that will somehow be the next medical miracle, and all it does is still band-aid the real problems.
Right. No, I 100%, I agree with that. I was going to say something, but I totally lost my point. Yeah.
It'll come back.
It'll come back, yeah. I don't know what, yeah.
So let's shift into those things that are important. They're things that are passion of yours. Again, guys, go follow her Through Health and Back on Instagram. Great information on there. In fact, your latest one as of the recording of this, explaining your condition to others, where you talk about, what you deal with and how you can explain it. Because people have these notions of when you say you have X, they don't know. It's always filtered through whatever they believe about X. It's not actually what X is about. And so then you kind of have to explain, but do you really have to explain? It's really none of their business. Anyway, it's kind of fun. But let's hit a topic that I know is a big one of yours, and that is this whole idea of toxins. They are literally everywhere in the environment, in the food, in the 5G. Is 5G in Croatia yet?
No, I was actually just talking to, again, Lauren from Two Purple Carrots, maybe an hour or two ago. She's in Spain, and we were just comparing countries, and we do not have 5G yet. I actually did some research, and there's just going to be a tower in Dubrovnik, maybe, which is south of here, so the chances it will be here are probably slim because it is very costly for infrastructure.
Yeah. Well, and it's a small enough country, it's probably unnecessary.
Yeah, I'd hope so. We do have a lot of tourists in the summer, so I could see that maybe being but I don't know. I really hope not.
Did you go keto and thought you had to give up wine? Well, let me introduce you to Dry Farm Wines. It is the world's first sugar-free alcohol that is lower than your typical wines, organic, made at local farms that do it the right way. Most of the wines that you buy are from 3 really big companies, loaded with additives and preservatives, so many dozens of those kinds of things. You don't want all that junk in your wine. So go to dryfarmwines.com/Jimmy and they will ship you these wines. And just because you listen to this podcast, Dry Farm Wines is going to give you a bottle in your first order for just 1 cent. Go to dryfarmwines.com/Jimmy and you will get your bottle of wine for just 1 singular penny. Go check them out. Dry Farm Wines, you guys. It's wine o'clock somewhere. Let's go get some wine. So there's so many toxins in everything. What are the biggest culprits that people are being exposed to and probably are just oblivious to it when it comes to toxins?
Yeah, I mean, where to start? I would say, trace your steps with what you do every day and think about what you're getting. I mean, obviously food is a big one depending on what kind of food you eat. That's a given. We don't need to talk about that even though I'm here because I do nutrition. But water is a huge one. Not only water that you drink, even though if you're probably drinking from a spigot, you either have well water, which is maybe contaminated with pesticides and runoff, or
I get this from bottle. I have a spring water. I do a spring water that I get very specifically because I avoid whatever the stuff they put into that tap water here in South Carolina. It's probably decent, but it's got stuff in there you don't want.
Yeah. Ours is honestly probably some of the best tap water in Europe, minus the fact that they chlorinate it. But otherwise, it's from a spring, which is actually pretty decent. But I was living in Houston, Texas for a long time. It was around when I initially kind of got sick, and we looked at the water report through EWG, and never again. I mean, the viruses, the bacteria, the heavy metals, the bromide derivatives, the other halogen derivatives. Oh, it was disgusting. And people drink that, and when you think about water, first of all, your body is 60% water, and we as humans use water to detox. It's essentially, we relute and then dilute as we urinate, and then we get rid of all of our toxins. But if you're literally drinking toxins, you're just saturating and ooh, it's gross. It's
Well,
gross.
a lot of people use like filtration systems, even like ones you buy
Right.
in the store, like a Brita filter. Does
Right.
that get most of them out, or does it leave behind enough that it's still harmful?
It depends like where your water is starting from. So, you know, if you have decent water that isn't heavily chlorinated and it's maybe from a spring, you know, and you just run it through a Brita, I would say okay. But like to get deep-rooted chlorine or fluor, I would not trust it. No,
So,
I mean, honestly, like a minimum I ever recommend is either an Aquasana, if you've ever heard of Aquasana,
yeah.
or Berkey.
So don't grab the toilet water and filtrate it through a Brita and hope to drink that and be okay.
I mean, if it's like an apocalypse or you're like trying to do some crazy conditioning, go for
Well,
it. But I would not.
I think about that movie Waterworld. Who was the star of that? But anyway, it was a big movie back in the '90s, and he was on a boat perpetually because everything was water. There was no more land in the world, so he would pee into a jar and then pour it through this filtration system and then re-drink the water. Yeah.
I mean, like
Who
survival.
was that? Mel Gibson? Who was that? That was.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to look this up.
Yeah,
You know,
Waterworld was the name. Somebody write it down there. I know you know what I'm talking about.
Ooh, God, no, I would not. I don't know. I would. I mean, I probably would if I was dying, but that's not something I want to think about. No.
Yes,
Although there is some tap water that I would probably say is worse than urine, but.
Yeah. So toxins in the water. Let's talk about the food for a second because that is your jam. Kevin Costner, somebody said. Thank you, Melinda. Kevin Costner was the star of Waterworld. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So in the food itself, though, I mean, plants we know can have some toxins in them. That's their defense mechanisms. You know, animals have teeth that can bite,
Right.
or a bee that has a stinger that can sting you. But plants have these toxins. Are they as big a deal as, say, the carnivore people like to make it out? Oh, the oxalates and the phytates and the like. Is it as big a deal as they make it out to be?
So let's, you know, the main anti-nutrients that come to mind are phytic acid, which are found in grains, some beans, some legumes, oxalates, which are a big one. You know, those are found in root vegetables, some grains, some nuts, lots of seeds have oxalate, phytic acid, oxalate. Let me think what else. Lectins are a big one. You know, the big lectin-free movement.
Yes.
And these are proteins that are found in vegetables, beans, legumes, seeds, legumes, I said grains. What else are lectins in? I said vegetables, some fruits. They can be destroyed by pressure cooking in some instances no. Nightshades are another family that have them. And they, like I said, they activate the immune system and they can contribute to leaky gut. Alkaloids, they're found in nightshade vegetables, your tannins, you have all different types of anti-nutrients. Salicylate are technically considered anti-nutrients, although they're a compound that's also active in aspirin, you know, can help with pain, but then if they're in excess, people can have issues with them. Phenols can be a problem. These are in high antioxidant foods like blueberries, raspberries, green tea, dark chocolate. Phenols for a lot of people can be very difficult if you have something like mast cell activation. If you have autism, they can be problematic. All anti-nutrients have the potential to be a problem.
Yes.
Depending on the person. And
Right.
It is very individual. You know, there was a time in my own journey where I could not tolerate a food with any of them.
Right.
And there are people that will never, ever, ever have a problem with them. So I totally believe that anti-nutrients are only a problem for you if your body is nutrient deficient and your detox organs are not working properly, because anti-nutrients are toxins for everyone.
Right.
You need vitamins and minerals to, you know, tag onto them and then detox them to make them out successfully, or to make them to be removed from the body successfully. When you become nutrient deficient and when your detox organs are blocked up, or you have some type of bacterial overgrowth, something along those lines that's contributing to I would say an endogenous toxin issue. You know, you have bacteria in your gut, say you have candida or something that is producing toxins of their own. You know, this gets added to what we need to remove them from the body pool, makes the detox organs work harder. These are when anti-nutrients become a problem. When you have adequate nutrients, when your detox organs are working properly and you have a balanced microbiome, these are not a problem. So to just simply say, oh no, this has oxalates and I have joint pain, I'm not going to eat this. That is very, very not smart. Just because I'll let you go.
I was just going to say that
Yeah.
one of the things you learned in from the Nutritional Therapy Association in your training was the detoxification pathway. There's various phases of it: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3,
Right.
and it's like, if it's broken in any of those points, you're going to have trouble getting rid of, like you said, the anti-nutrients. And something that bothers me about the mainstream of nutrition, which are dietitians, registered dietitians, they don't recognize anti-nutrients. Why?
They don't know about them. You know, honestly, it took me a lot of digging to figure out what they were and what in food was causing me problems, because, you know, I would go and I would say to my doctor, carrots are giving me a problem, or beets give me a problem, and they would just look at me like I was crazy and making it up. And I'm like, no, something is wrong with these foods in particular, and I didn't know what it was. And then, you know, you start digging around and you figure out what oxalates are, what lectins are. Oh, this is why, you know, I've gained 20 pounds by focusing on eating non-pressure cooked squashes, and this is why, you know, I feel just so inflamed. And it all makes sense. But most people, you know, the standard of care doesn't even teach you the difference, or not the difference, but, you know, focus on protein. These are the differences between protein, carbs, and fats. These are all your essential vitamins and minerals. These are the effects on the body, let alone what anti-nutrients can do in some of the conditions that they can mimic. Medicine does not teach you that. Dietitians, that is not taught in any registered dietitian program. That is not taught in any, I don't even think, a standard nutrition program.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because, again, like doctors, when patients go see a doctor, they assume the doctor knows everything as it would relate to your health, and they don't. Same with dietitians. You would think the dietitians would know everything, kind of an encyclopedia of knowledge when it comes to food and what they're comprised of. So, again, disconnect with the mainstream of practitioners that patients and clients would be going to see. And this is why I think people like me exist, because we're able to like expose people to new information they haven't heard before. And it's a shame because I'm just a layperson. You're a layperson with a great education in nutrition through your NTP training, and now you're becoming a medical doctor. Like all of these things, it's a shame that it has to be picked up by people when we have the infrastructure in place with medical doctors, with nurses, with dietitians that could be teaching all of these things right now, if they just had the gumption within the medical school and the dietetic school to actually teach this stuff. And I get they only have so many years to cram it all in, but this is a biggie. These are big principles.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it just take literally, you know, 20 hours out of a semester, or literally like a 1 credit hour class, and you teach kids this. It's not that hard. But then again, you know, what's the incentive out of it?
Yeah, and see, we have to remove the incentive part. I mean, I get it. A lot of medical research is predicated on, okay, what drug can I develop from this $3 million grant that I'm getting to do this study? Like, I get that. And like, if you can't have a return on investment, the NIH doesn't want to fund that. Independent benefactors don't want to give that money because they want to see some kind of ROI. And if they don't see an ROI, then they look the other way. Okay, it's to vitamin D to help lessen the symptoms of this Black Plague thing out there. We're not going to fund anything on that because I don't make any money from that. Vitamin D is so cheap.
No, 100%. And then the other part that that we haven't talked about yet is most people don't want to give up the foods that cause the problems.
Yes.
And that's arguably maybe the bigger thing. I have a neighbor, and we were talking. This is my neighbor back in my hometown, and we were talking. She has a daughter, similar health issues to me, and we were talking, and this was years ago, and I said something about diet. I think it was like maybe around the time I was vegan, and she said, not everyone wants to give up their diet. You know, not everyone can. Not everybody has that type of determination to, you know, make the change of themselves. Most of the people go to food for comfort, you know,
They would if they knew the negative consequences that come from it. And see, this is where I think the diet world has gotten it all wrong. We're like, you should eat, let's just throw keto and get into ketosis and cut out the bread and cut out the sugar. and you're not giving them the reason why. You're just saying you should do this, and people are like,
Mhm.
but I like sugar and I like my bread and I like this and that.